between Hikaru Nakamura versus Fabiano Caruana. In the tournament Norway Chess 2024, Hikaru started with 1 d4 and Fabiano replied with knight to f6, where Hikaru continues c4, Fabiano continues e6, Hikaru continues knight c3, developing knight, and Fabiano Caruana plays bishop to b4, developing bishop and pinning this knight. So this is actually uh, the Nimzo Indian defense. Here are multiple possibilities. Here are multiple possibilities. One of them is queen queen to c2. Second option is f3. Sorry, e3. This is the main line, and knight to f3. This is called Kasparov variation, and f3 actually leads to Samish variation. This is Kamosh variation, also called Kamosh variations. So Fabiano replies with e3. So this is the main line of Nimzo Indian defense, and Hikaru continues. This is actually most safest line. Hikaru continues with Fabiano plays b6. Hikaru continues knight to e2. Bishop a6 was played. Knight to g3 was played. Fabiano takes knight on c3 with bishop, and Hikaru takes back with pawn. So this is actually the main idea of uh, Nimzo Indian defense, creating these double pawns and weakening these pawns and isolating this pawn. So this is the main idea in Nimzo Indian defense. So Fabiano has achieved that, but he has exchanged his bishop, dark square bishop, with knight. Next, Fabiano continues with d5. Hikaru continues. Hikaru takes d5. Bishop takes f1. Actually, this is the main idea to exchange light square bishop, also to create play. So Fabiano achieves that also. This is actually main line where Hikaru takes with rook, actually centralizing this rook and centralizing this rook, because if he takes with king, rook won't be able to uh, develop on this square, so he takes with rook and developing the rook. Fabiano continues and takes on d5 with queen. Hikaru plays f3. Fabiano develops his knight on c6. Hikaru develops his queen on e2. Fabiano plays knight to a5. Main idea is to go in here and create some attacking chances. Hikaru continues and attacks on queen with e4. Fabiano uh, offers queen trade. Actually, in this match, Hikaru and Caruana are playing like Hikaru is in a must-win situation, but Fabiano Caruana is playing actually for draw. Draw is enough for Fabiano, so he is trying to play safe, might be to exchange queens and create so that to create less play. So Hikaru actually accepts queen trade and takes on c4. Fabiano takes back with knight. Hikaru plays bishop to g5, attacks this knight. So he actually tries to double this pawn and create a weakness in endgame, but Fabiano denies this exchange and take back his knight safely on d7. Knight, sorry, king e2 was played by Hikaru. Fabiano castles. White uh, plays rook to b1, actually aligning this rook with open file. Fabiano pushes his pawn a6. Hikaru plays rook to d1. Fabiano pushes his pawn. Hikaru pushes his pawn and attacks this pawn. Actually, if he takes his pawn, this is actually a double attack on this pawn and also this knight, so that this pawn would be isolated pawn. So uh, here Fabiano doesn't takes this pawn immediately to create weakness. He instead develops. He instead plays knight to b6, attacking this pawn twice. Hikaru takes on e6. Fabiano takes back with pawn. Actually, this was a mistake played by Hikaru. This is actually not a losing blunder, but here tempo was lost. Fabiano kicks his bishop away, and actually, uh, by playing this bishop to c1, all of three pieces are in back rank in the very start of end game or in the end of middle game. So Fabiano plays rook to d8 to create a play here. Hikaru pushes f4. Caruana plays knight to a4. One option is to fork rooks right in here, but Hikaru defends with knight. Fabiano plays knight to c5, knight to g3, knight to a4, knight to e2 again. And since Hikaru is playing for win, Fabiano is playing for draw maybe. So if this moves is repeated thrice, so this will be a draw. So he again continues with knight to c5. But here Hikaru continues, pushes his pawn e5. Fabiano gives a check and forks these two pieces. This knight cannot be taken because of this rook, so he moves away. He pushes his pawn first, and now he actually this if if this if this king was not moved, this pawn is hanging because of this pin. So he first uh, goes to a safer square. So now he actually attacks on this pawn twice, actually thrice. So Hikaru uh, defends this pawn, because if this pawn falls, this takes, and this is also this could also be taken. So he defends this pawn. Fabiano takes on c1. Hikaru takes back. Here, Fabiano enters second rank by attacking these two weaknesses. One is undefended knight, and second is pawn. He first Hikaru first defends his knight, and Fabiano takes e2. Here, he attacks its undefended pawn here. So first he attacks this rook with knight. So he defends. So he takes back with king and knight to c4. Here again, this pawn was uh, hanging, so he first moves this king back. He moves this king on a safer place to in order to prevent this. So he defends this pawn that was hanging for a long time. So now he attacks on this pawn. If this pawn is ever pushed, this pawn will be taken. So Fabiano creates releases this scare for this pawn push that was actually attacked by this knight also. Here Hikaru attacks on this knight with king, so he has to move this knight. He moves on d5. He moves his knight to d5. He attacks this pawn. Actually, this pawn is also undefended. If rook goes here, this pawn is hanging, and rook does not defend this pawn. This will be a free pawn, so he defends. He plays rook to c6 and defends these two pawns. Pushes this pawn. He just Fabiano pushes this pawn and creates a stronger chain. So this cannot taken. It's no more. This is no more hanging pawn. Hikaru pushes. He actually wants to create a king side attack where uh, Fabiano is creating a queen side play. So Fabiano must have to defend this. So he first pushes this pawn so that if this pawn is taken, this pawn can be pushed. So he takes. So instead of taking this pawn, he just pushes this pawn to create a pressure. So here Hikaru pushes this pawn to attack rook that actually defends these two pawns twice. So he takes this pawn. Here Hikaru gives a check. If he goes here and knight comes here and rook to h8 is actually checkmate. So if knight somehow uh, here and here, yeah, if knight goes here and here, so now rook to a rook to h8 is a checkmate. So this is a threat given by Hikaru. So Fabiano defends this. First goes to h7. So he first goes to knight to d6 just to create a mating net by going there and rook to h8. So instead of pushing this pawn and winning, Fabiano defends by playing knight to b6. Hikaru push uh, plays rook to h8 that was attacked by knight. So this was the final move by Fabiano. He pushes his pawn to c2. Here, Hikaru tries to create a mating net. Now, if Fabiano is careless and pushes his pawn to create a queen, he is actually mated here by rook to h8. He is actually mating one. If uh, Fabiano does not care, so he first attacks this rook and wants to exchange this rook, because either he has to move here only one square or this square, and either he has to take and taken back with knight, and after that Fabiano will be able to create a queen. So after this final move, Hikaru resigns. So this is the gameplay that is actually in the playlist of Nimzo Indian Defense for mainline. Check out this playlist for more games.